So it's been a couple of days and now it's time to take all these clamps off. So this is our body blank now, taking out the clamps, and it's looking good. We've got no big gaps or anything like that. We still have some spots of glue here that were underneath the clamps and that. But what we're going to do is just give everything just a quick sand, just get it cleaned up a bit, and then we'll start to mark out the body. So we've given our body blank a bit of a sand, and we've decided that this surface here looks the best. So this is going to be the back of the instrument. The top has one or two minor defects in it, but because we're going to be putting a new top and a veneer on it, it doesn't matter. So once the back looks okay, so we just put it on our template here, and we're just going to draw around that, and then we'll get ready to move on to the next step. So hopefully you can make that out. That's what the back of our instrument is going to look like. And as we said, we'll move on now to our next step. So we're just planning out what our next step is going to be, and what we're going to do is we're going to partially hollow out this body. So all along here and here we're going to completely chamber out. Then on top of that, what we're going to do is we're going to add a spruce top to the whole instrument. Then we're going to put a veneer of Bubinga over the whole top. So we should have a nice tin top. We're going to cut some F-holes as well, and we should have our nice Bubinga top, our spruce layer, and then the rest of our body. So while we still have the body blank as a nice big square, before we actually cut out the shape, we'll start to hollow out these inside sections here, just so it gives us more area for the router to stand on as well as we're going over. So hopefully you can make this out. This area here and this area here, they're the areas that we're going to be hogging all that material out of. So we'll drill most of it out, and then we'll make a template and come back with our router, and we'll completely clean it up and make sure we have a nice smooth area inside. And we've also drawn on roughly where our F-holes are going to go and where our controls are going to be. And this whole section here, all through the middle, will all stay solid. We won't be touching that, because that's where our bridge is going to attach and where our pickups and electronics go in. So first off, what we'll do is, as we said, we'll drill out these two areas here and take away as much material as we can. So we've just used some plastic here to roughly trace out the shape we're going to need, and then we can transfer that over into a piece of plywood here, and we'll be able to use that to make our template then for doing all our routing for removing all this material here. So here we've got our template very roughly cut out, and when we take away all this material here, as we said, we can then come back and use this template for a router bit to run around to make sure we have a nice relatively smooth cavity in that, and it just means we'll be able to get the depth as well nice and even, so when you see through the sound hole, all you'll see is a smooth interior surface. So you can use the same template for the bottom and for the top part as well. So as I said, we'll get on. Our next step will probably be to start hogging out all this material here. So now we've got our area marked where we're going to be hogging out all the material, and we have our template above for routing afterwards. We're just going to take our Forstner bit, and that's going to take away a lot of the material. So we're just going to go around the cavities that we're going to be making, and we're just going to be marking some locations so we know exactly where to start drilling. So we'll just keep the bit moving and making sure we're staying within the lines. And so we can just keep doing this to make sure we're removing as much material as possible and giving the router as little work to do as possible. So as we're hogging away this material, you can see little areas like this where there's no kind of crossover amongst the holes, so we'll come back with a smaller Forstner bit at the end and just hog away some more material. The whole point being just to make it a lot easier on the router when it has to try and take away all this material. So that's our first side done. Most of the material hogged out, still a few more bits to do, and then to come back with the router. And so now we're just going to do the same thing on the other side here. So that's the bulk of all that material taken out. So there's still some areas like here and like here that we may come back with smaller Forstner bits and just to remove the rest of the material. Okay, so what we've done now is we've attached our template back to our body here, and we've just screwed it down to make sure it doesn't move. We screwed it down in an area that's going to be cut off anyway, so it won't affect it. And so we've got our router here with our bearing on it, so that'll just follow our template around and just give us the outline of all this material we're going to take off here. So we'll just press on with that. We'll do one pass with the template on, and then we'll take it off and we'll just continue going around and trying to get it as smooth as possible. And we'll do the same on the far side as well with the other half of the template. So we'll just get stuck into that now, and we'll try and show you as much as we can, but it's very difficult to try and film what's going on exactly. But the router bit is at work inside, just hogging out all this material. So that's our first pass done with the router, and you can see we've established the wall all the way around now. So we can actually take the template off now, because we have this, the bearing on the router can now run around on the inside of that, and we'll just take another pass and probably another couple until we get all the way down and find ourselves with a nice smooth bottom. So there we have our first cavity done, and it's nicely cleaned out completely. Because of the F-hole you'll be able to see into this, so we're trying to make it look as nice as possible. So that's it, nicely smooth all the way around down to the depth we want on that. So it's just a matter of doing exactly the same thing on the far side. We'll stick down the template again, give us an outline with the first pass, and then just keep working our way down slowly until absolutely everything is gone. So that's both our cavities routed out now, nice and smooth all the way around. We got rid of all that material, and so our next step will be to work on our next pieces of routing, which will be the pickup pockets and more than likely the neck pocket as well.